Alright, what's going on, Forgotten Nation? I'm your host, FG, and today we're looking at Beat Saber one last time. This is version 15, and to further explain what we're doing here today in today's gameplay session, let's explain a little bit about what's changed behind the scenes leading up to this video compared to the last time we played Beat Saber. So, allow me to take a seat as we discuss further. And the first thing you probably already noticed is that I'm not using the original Oculus Quest that I've had for so long. And good reason for that. Not only does the Quest 2 have some extra performance, but as of version 28, they released a feature that honestly made the upgrade worth it in my mind. And that is Oculus Air Link. Only exclusive at the time for Quest 2, unless you do some modding behind the scenes on the original Quest. It allows you to essentially use Oculus Link with the PC capable of virtual reality games, but with a wireless connection. So what a lot of people do is they have a dedicated router just for the purpose of virtual reality. And seeing as my original link cable did snap, I figured it was time for the upgrade. So I upgraded to the Quest 2, got myself a dedicated router, and never looked back. It's been a smooth transition since then, and the fact that it's built right into the system, you don't need anything like a virtual desktop, is really cool to say the least. And for those wondering what happened to the original Quest, long story short, I sold it on eBay and the post office stole it, and I haven't heard anything about it since. If you want to know more, ask me in the comments. But the other upgrade actually is behind the scenes. I'm actually using a new computer setup, and the biggest difference with this new build is the change in the CPU. Whereas before we were rocking an i7 7700K, now we're rocking the Ryzen 9 5900X. And although most people look at the graphics card as the big thing when it comes to Oculus Link, the CPU is just as important because you need to effectively process the image that's being transferred to the Quest, and even on the Quest's end, have it be deciphered. So as much as there is the GPU for gaming, the CPU is just as important if you're playing with an Oculus Quest. And considering that I couldn't do many things with that i7, such as recording, for example, certain games, now there are no limitations attached. And the purpose of this video actually has to do with this upgrade setup, because now we can do things that we couldn't do before with the native setup. And the big focus here today in this gameplay session is modifications. We're going to be pushing Beat Saber to its limit and showing off some of the things you can do with modding that you couldn't normally do in the base game. While this won't be a full-on tutorial, and it won't showcase every mod there is out there, this is essentially some of the things you can only do if you mod Beat Saber and you have the strong sets to back it up. Which thankfully we have it here today, and we're going to show off as much as we can. So without any further ado, let's go straight into the gameplay. Alright, so the best playlist to showcase just how far maps go in the modding scene is definitely the Extrasensory playlist. And these 5 songs actually require 2 mods to operate. The first is Noodle Extensions, and the second is Chroma. What these mods do, well, I'll explain more as we play through the maps. And the first one we're playing is essentially a showcase of just what those mods can do in action. So up first, we're going to play Analys by Hayako on level difficulty. We are back. It's also worth mentioning that we're using the no-fail modifier because these maps are, for what they're worth, pretty difficult. And I imagine most people on the first try aren't going to be able to complete them. And to make sure I don't look like a fool as I'm playing this, and to see these songs to the end, we're going to play with the modifier on. So, let's check it out. Now, this first song is a demonstration of what these mods can do. And it starts relatively simple, but you're already going to see right now that these notes are doing things that notes don't often do. They're zooming in, they're shaking, and they're going nuts. And if you saw that logo there, you know something's up. We are back. So the Noodle Extensions mod essentially allows you to manipulate the notes and the environment to do things you couldn't normally do in Beat Saber. And that means there's a lot more chaos going on. Stuff like this where it's actually really hard to predict which way the notes are going and how to comprehend what's coming at you. And while Analys is relatively simple as a map, the other ones are really difficult to say the least. This one alone actually took me a lot of tries to get down right. I'm glad that I stuck with it to be able to pull it off no problem. But as we go further, you're going to see that I'm going to be struggling quite a bit with the later maps. But no, it's really cool to see like all the things happening here. But aside from Noodle's extension, there's also the Chroma mod. Beat Saber is normally known for RGB events and all the colors. But with Chroma, you're going to see a lot more happening in the background. If you're not distracted by everything happening right now with the notes. I mean, come on, this is crazy. And to go even further, we're breaking the boundaries. Going beyond the player HUD, the player spawn, and we are moving with the notes. This is really cool. And the first time I played this, it was amusing. Like, I didn't think anything like this could happen in Beat Saber. And I kind of wish it was baked into the main game a little bit. Something to spice it up a bit. Because you do get used to the main gameplay, but as you get better, sometimes it's not enough to keep you interested. So to see stuff like this happening is insane. But yeah, that was Analys. This is the first of 5 maps, and though we're not going to play all 5 of them, this is the best one that demonstrates what the game can do when you mod it. But up next, let's show off a different mod that's actually pretty cool in my eyes, especially if you're into multiplayer. Alright, so if you're like me, you like the multiplayer, but there's just one problem. You can only play what's baked into the main game. And for someone that plays a lot of custom levels, you just kind of lose it after a while. You just don't stay interested. So this next mod, known as BeatTogether, and a secondary mod that adds a server browser, allows you to do just that. You're able to join multiplayer servers that aren't baked into the normal game, but rather a dedicated server that uses peer-to-peer connections and lets you actually play custom levels with anyone so long as they have the mod too. And it's not exclusive to actually having the song, because if you don't have a song and they do, you'll download the song through their connection. And this is a great way to not only play with other people some more songs that you couldn't do normally, but to also get a taste for some other music that people have played in Beat Saber. Now the only thing is that there's still no communication in these lobbies. You're not able to yell at them if you're taking forever. You're not able to do like certain emotes like, yay, boo, You're kind of based with what you have in the main game. But for what it is, having this extra support definitely makes the game a lot more replayable. And this is my go-to whenever I start Beat Saber, being able to play multiplayer beyond what was baked into the main game. With that said, let's get back to the game. Alright, so this next one is actually from Doom 2016, At Doom's Gate by Mick Gordon. And this one is going to play more with the environment as opposed to the notes happening. And this is meant to showcase that in basic Beat Saber, you're mostly bound to the main arena. But what happens when you add the extra lighting abilities and you start to do more with the environment? Well, let's take a trip through hell and see just what really happens. And no, this is actually really crazy. Just the fact that it's building this world in front of me as I'm playing Beat Saber. And this is especially great for those that are watching you because it gives them something to look at besides me just hitting notes. It's essentially telling a story happening in front of me. And as the song implies, even though I haven't really played too much of Doom 2016, I really want to get into Doom Eternal, but I still need to finish the first game to get, well, to know what's happening in the story per se. I should probably get back on that. But it's essentially walking us through the environment and telling a story as we go along. And no, this is like purely chaotic. Alright, here's where I'm glad I got the modifier, because I tend to struggle with these notes. Alright. And even though I said that my setup is like up to spec now, it doesn't mean it's perfect, because Oculus Link still has the stutters and the jitters. but for what it is, it's definitely smoother in my eyes compared to what I had before. At the very least, now I'm able to record it. That was something I couldn't do with the first setup. Not the smoothest performance playing Doom's Gate, but it at least showcases just a look at how the environment could change with the modding scene. Alright, now this next one's actually really exciting. Let's take a look at some of the cosmetic changes you can do with Beat Saber modding. Alright, so this is a bit of a small one, but it's something that people do enjoy nonetheless. I don't know if I actually had to load up in the main game, but I do have at least one here to go off of. And that is Saber Factory, which allows you to download custom sabers you can actually use in the maps. And the one I have on display here is the D57 sabers. This is by Dulana57. And the reason I like it is because it's still subtle to the original design of the saber, but it still has that futuristic look. And with the way it is on top, it almost looks like a lightsaber. And believe me, there is some crazier stuff out there. There is actual lightsabers from Star Wars, there's crowbars from Half-Life, and some other crazy additions. And it does support adding more through the game itself, a sense of like a browser. So if you want to see more in the game and don't have to go to like other websites, it's right there, and it's really cool. But if sabers aren't your thing, how about avatars? Because there is an avatar mod that allows you to load in custom avatars. And this is just a template I have right here, but we also have, for example, Hatsune Miku. So you could load in any avatar that supports it and actually use them in the game. And this is something that a lot of content creators use in their videos if they don't want to use a webcam. So this is something that's there, and whether or not it's able to work is purely up to spec, but this actually does work a lot smoother than something like using the webcams, because that you need quite a bigger setup. But don't worry, we're going to show that off too. For the last song we're going to cover in this gameplay session, I'm going to show off mixed reality. And that's essentially using other applications such as the Live client and the power of this webcam and green screen combo to essentially put me in the game and actually show me swinging at the notes in the final song we'll be playing in this gameplay session. And before we get into that, I'm going to close off early here so it's a little more smoother on my end with editing purposes. But honestly, if you have the setup and it works well, I would recommend trying the modding scene for Beat Saber. Even if to get some more out of your gameplay, I do think it's a lot of fun just to check out. Now this is the last time we're going to check out Beat Saber on the main channel, but if you do want to see me play more Beat Saber in the future, I'm open to playing more of it over on my Twitch. And if you do miss any streams, I also have created a secondary channel just for archival purposes. And I'll leave a link in the comments down below. That's going to do it for me here, so thank you all so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to leave a like and comment down below. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. So, to play me out, we're going to play one more song, and up next is my personal favorite of the Extrasensory playlist. This is Midnight Lady. Alright, last song of the video, let's get into it. Alright, so what we're using here is known as the Live client, and it's a specialty software that allows us to do this with a green screen and a webcam, as I mentioned before. But really the performance all depends on your setup, depending on the size of your green screen, depending on how good of a camera you have. Like, for example, the Logitech I'm using here only has 30 FPS, and you want something a lot smoother that makes it look better when you're swinging the beats. So I can't speak for how it's going to look in the end, but I'm hoping it does work to at least demonstrate that this is possible. This is something that a lot of people do, especially over on Twitch. I remember they did like a whole segment on GDQ, I think it was Awesome Games Done Quick, that they had like a whole session for Beat Saber, and the person playing actually used the mixed reality capture during their gameplay. And the reason people love it so much because it just adds the immersion that is virtual reality to truly be within the game. And plus, it looks a whole lot cooler when you're doing stuff like this. Though the setup can be a bit of a pain, especially before this I was trying to do the calibration and getting the webcam in just the right spot. But it does pay off just for the sweet aesthetic and how it looks when you're making content. And eventually, it will become more accessible for those that have an iPhone with the Quest 2, because eventually they're making an update that will let you capture through the Oculus app and use the iPhone's AR abilities to text capture like this. So mixed reality is going to become a whole lot more accessible, and I'm looking forward to see more of it. Although I'm stuck with an Android, only time will tell. Alright, for those that don't know, I really love the future funk genre, and all things neon. Really great color schemes here. It just looks beautiful. Alright, Midnight Lady. Good stuff, everyone. Good stuff.